안녕하세요, 여러분. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our YouTube premiere for the Climate Reality Project chapter from the San Francisco Bay Area. I am Alma Sungibek, one of the climate justice co-chairs of our chapter. And I'm here with my friend Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Weiner, and I am the chair of the Climate Reality Project chapter in San Diego. Shout out to all my San Diego friends. Woohoo!
So one of the cool things about this event is it's actually our first event that we have a co-sponsor from another chapter. That's another California chapter. So Stephanie, so excited to get to do this with you and with your chapter.
We are so excited to join this amazing coalition that is the Bay Area chapter, and they're doing great work, and we're so pumped to be here. We, meaning the chapter that is embodied through me.
Lovely. So, our climate justice team up here in the San Francisco Bay Area chapter, we've been working for several years on this Indigenous Voices speaker series. And we're so excited because this is the beginning of Indigenous Heritage Month in the U.S., the month of November. And it gives us a chance to premiere the videos, both short version and long version, from these two excellent programs that we got to do in May and in July. The first one being Land Back and Climate Justice in Marin County. The second one being about Indigenous resistance and eco-colonialism in Alaska. So we're going to have our chance to premiere these videos and also hear from the speakers. So a bunch of the speakers have been willing to come back and give us updates.
And if you haven't had the chance to go to one of these Indigenous listening circles, it's so powerful. It's so informative. It really is an experience, and it's such a great way with great people to pass the time. So I highly encourage it.
Yes. So in addition to our speaker series, we also have a monthly Indigenous Voices reading group and listening circle. And this is a place for allies, settlers, occupiers like us who are not Indigenous to this continent to think about and learn about and hear from Indigenous voices. This is such a crucial part of our work as climate activists to really understand and build relationships and listen to Indigenous voices. So this movie premiere today is part of that.
I'm so excited to hear the follow-ups from the presenters. I'm really hoping for some good news, for some wins.
The cool thing, Stephanie, is that we actually have quite a bit of progress that has been made on a number of these campaigns, even since the initial presentations in May and July. So we're excited to have some of the speakers back to actually talk about some of those wins, as well as the work that is still to do and how to continue to support the work that they're doing.
Of course, there's always work to do, and action items are great, but it's good to hear some joyful news, if you will, which will bring us to a very important shout out, someone that needs to be mentioned. Alma is also has another role. She wears many hats as the founder of Climate Hope, who is also a sponsor of this amazing YouTube Live event.
Yes, we're lucky enough to have climatehope.us as our second co-sponsor, and Stephanie and I are actually both quite involved in climatehope.us. You can find us at the URL climatehope.us. We have a segment called Joyful Climate News, which we also call the Alma and Stephanie Show.
It's so much fun. Feel free to go over to our website and check that out. We also have an Instagram and a YouTube.
Yes. And part of what we're doing is reporting on the joys in our life, as well as joyful climate news, but also taking a look at some of the work that is yet to be done. So we're going to have that angle here as well with this Indigenous Voices speaker series movie premiere. So without further ado, our first 10-minute segment, Land Back and Climate Justice in Marin County. Welcome to our program on Land Back and Climate Justice in Marin with our special guests, Theresa and Jason. This is a program of the Climate Reality Project Bay Area Chapter, Climate Justice Team, Indigenous Voices Speaker Series. We've had a climate justice team for almost 3 years, and we started the Indigenous Voices Project as a way for us to wrap our minds as a chapter around backing and thinking about Indigenous voices and Indigenous sovereignty in the context of climate and climate justice work.
Thank you for this opportunity to be part of the Indigenous Voices series. I just came back from an Indigenous conference with an emphasis on climate change. And a Maori sister, she was speaking and she said, we're in a crisis of relationship, not a climate crisis. And that hit me as being so true, because if we were in relationship with our Mother Earth, our home, that was respectful, relational, reciprocal, generous, we would not be in the state that we are with global warming. This photograph that I'm sharing is our family's home from the 1940s. So archaeological records tell us that Coast Miwok people were on the peninsula for at least 12,000 years. So that's 12,000 years of Indigenous science. That's 12,000 years of observation and practice, and something that cannot be reduced to mythology. We know Spanish missions, Mexican ranchos, and American tenant ranching system and the commercial ranches that are there were all part of the colonial erasure of Coast Miwok or Tamalco people existence. They're the creators, they're the stakeholders of that erasure. We know that Tamalco people survived by their labor and their intimate knowledge of their land. But with colonization, they were reduced to tenants living in their own homelands. They were pushed to the margins, food sources and economies disrupted by cattle ranching. The missions brought in cattle, Mexican ranchos, American ranches continue, cattle grazing on the peninsula, which devastated the natural grasses, the natural practice of tending to the land and the waters. And so our family at Felix Cove was just one of many Tamalco families that lived on the east and the west shores of Tomales Bay. But our home's the last remaining home built by Tamalco hands. So I was asked the question, what do American environmentalism, preservation, and conservation look like from my perspective? This is a photograph of President Kennedy signing the legislation that established Point Reyes National Seashore. These are the men who were part of that work to establish the park. So when I'm told by environmentalists that Indigenous science is not a science and more of a religious belief, this is what I see. When I'm told by white environmentalists that Native people had contributed to the extinction of certain animals or the destruction of certain landways, this is what I see.
My name is Jason Deschler. I'm the Coast Miwok, part of the Coast Miwok Tribal Council. I am preservation officer, cultural advisor. When I'm working with the community, I'm a keeper of traditions and stories that are passed down through our families. My family was in Marshall. We were there until the 60s, 1960s. We are Hukuiko. Huku meaning the first or up front. Ko or Eco coming from the word Iniko, family. Ko meaning people, Hukuiko. We are Tamalco. Tamalco is a branch of Hukuiko. We are from the village of Eco-Colonialism, which is right there across from the family that raised Theresa Harlan in of the Tamalco people, Tamal Liwa of Tamal Huya, Point Reyes. 13,000 years, indigenous knowledge. We have a very strong relationship with the land, with fire. It's part of our creation story. You know, metaphorical stories and morals and values in these stories and lessons to be learned in building this relationship and living with the land in that way, understanding that if we didn't do this, that natural events were going to happen and be catastrophic. Some of you environmentalists and scientists know what biochar does for soil. When we collected the acorns for food and collected the leaves and the dead branches and burned around them, they thrived. Now, what happened, Theresa spoke on that. You removed the people. The people were removed from the land. And then we were taught fire is bad. And I want to elaborate a little more on what I do personally for work. For one, we are homeless in our own land, so I do not get to live in Marin County. I live in Tuolumne County, where I work with 2 federally recognized tribes, and I do preservation work. I work in their cultural departments. I help do a lot of negotiations under AB 52 with the Forest Service, with CAL FIRE, with Caltrans, with PG&E. I was also involved with the Calaveras Band of Miwok, which is not a federally recognized tribe. Let me remind that there are no state recognized tribes in California. I think there might be not quite 70, high 60s throughout the entire United States, state recognized tribes, but not in California. Yet I work with a tribe who, these entities recognize them and they understand who they are. And I do this preservation work with them. We did a cultural burn up Highway 4 in Big Trees State Park with the giant redwoods. All indigenous knowledge was shared, working with the Park Service themselves, also working with the entities that were thinning the trees, cutting the brush, us guiding them, showing them the cultural practices.
What could people here listening to you today do to support the land back and cultural preservation efforts that you're working on now and in the next period?
My thing is to have an open mind and to listen to the stories that we're sharing, listen to the information that we're sharing. And, you can visit our websites and get more information. You can make donations to our websites. But one of the things that I'll say is that, is really, I think, is understanding that what you may know about Point Reyes, the story behind it is not the full story. And so when you go to the park, remember that it's the home of our ancestors, and to visit there with respect. You live in Marin County, be respectful to our homelands.
Right now, we are looking at purchasing land, a 26-acre parcel in our homeland, buying our land back in Nicasio, Rancho Nicasio, which we once had 80,000 acres. It's kind of weird. One of our old headmen, he had to raise his own money to buy a 20-something acre parcel. Just happens to be right across the street from where we're looking at this land right now.
Hello, everybody. 안녕하세요, 여러분. Thank you for taking the time to watch our 10-minute recap of the program that we did on land back and climate justice in Marin County. And we are back here with Theresa Harlan from the Alliance from Felix Cove, as well as Joe Sanchez, who is founder of the Coast Miwok Tribal Council of Marin and president of Kuiko Inc., which he will be talking about. So we're here to just get any updates because this program originally happened in May and now we're several months past. So we'd love to hear any updates on progress on the rematriation and land return work. And then anything, what's coming up next and how we can continue to support and follow the work that you're doing. So let's start with Theresa.
Thank you. I'm happy to share that we are getting closer to realizing our dream to answer the call of our ancestors at Felix Cove. We are working on planning a rematriation plan, as some may call it a restoration or conservation. It's rematriation. We're bringing back the tending of native hands and knowledge and ways to Felix Cove. So we will be holding a gathering of Indigenous traditional ecological knowledge keepers and artists to join together at the Cove to dream about the land and water, dream about what can be, dream about how we can bring back the heart and soul of our Indigenous ancestors to the Cove. So we're very excited about that. And I'm happy to share that the National Park Service is very supportive of our work. We've been working with them, consulting with them on this planning, and we are just getting so much closer to actually rematriating and going home to Felix Cove.
That's so wonderful to hear, Theresa. You were also talking earlier about how there's some news articles that came out that talked about the Park Service's support of the rematriation efforts. Do you want to say more about that?
Sure. We were featured in an article that was in the San Jose Mercury News and the Marin Independent Journal about the shift in the engagement, the levels of engagement with the National Park Service and Indigenous groups and tribes. And we were featured in that article. And the superintendent is even quoted as acknowledging that Coast Miwok people were at the park before the National Park Service, before ranchers, and before anyone who came through colonization. So we're feeling that shift and we're feeling that support. And so we're really expanding our sites and looking for greater support from the community as well.
That's really wonderful to hear, Theresa. I'm so excited for you. We actually, in this YouTube description for this program, as well as the programs from May, we have the link to the news article, as well as the link to your site so that people know how they can continue to support. There's a nice big donate button on the homepage for how to contribute to the ongoing work of Alliance for Felix Cove. Any last thoughts, Theresa?
Just, I'm deeply appreciative to this opportunity to talk with your community, to have community members join our community, to expand our community. And I'm really happy for the Coast Miwok Tribal Council of Marin, Joe and his brothers, our brothers, in their work to get back their land, to go home too. So it's something that we hope we can follow in their footsteps as well.
Lovely. Joe, anything from you?
Yes, quite a bit, actually. We secured 26 acres of land, beautiful land in Nicasio, which was a major undertaking. No one thought we could actually pull this off, but we did, thank goodness. And we went right up to the last day where we met our goal. And I'm so happy that we now have this land, which actually is adjacent to the last village that we had in Nicasio 150 years ago. So it's quite thrilling to be back on our own land and in close proximity to our last village in Nicasio. And what was remarkable was the tremendous support we got from the community. We raised quite a bit of money in a very short amount of time, which was incredible. And I'm so happy that we have this land now that we can work with, tend, and bring back things like native plants and that sort of thing, and have gatherings on the property with Indigenous people, not just Coast Miwok people, but others. and have different classes and things like that, such as jewelry making, basketry, and those sorts of things. We're very excited about reestablishing culture and tradition on this land. And we're off to a great start. We've got tremendous support still from the community. And we're looking forward to really being a example of what can be done in this modern day and age when we have extreme weather conditions and that sort of thing, and wildfires and all that. And we want to be a leading force in learning how to work with Indigenous knowledge to care for the land, tend to the land like we did for well over 10,000 years. So we're very excited. We've got things going now. We're putting down new things happening on the property. We're planting. We're, like I said, tending. We're still in the planning stages, though. We have a lot of things to work out, but it's all coming together. And I'm just so happy that it's all taking place.
Congratulations. That was a huge undertaking. It's also a really good reminder about how land back and land return and rematriation is not just about transfer of land itself, but also how monetary contributions can help with repurchase to contribute towards land return.
Yes, absolutely.
Any final words of how to support the work you're doing and what's coming next?
Well, people can contribute and donate to us at Eco-Colonialism Inc. at Post Office Box 725 in Nicasio, 94946, the zip code. And we just got this mailbox, so it's kind of new for us too, but we're very happy to have that and be more localized. So yes, you can contribute to Eco-Colonialism, which is HUUKUIKO, Eco-Colonialism Inc.
And we are also putting that information in the description to the YouTube for the YouTube description for this video, as well as on our websites where we're describing the events.
I could add that I was interviewed, Dean Hoagland and I were interviewed by Vanessa Rancano for KQED, if anyone would like to see that.
Yeah, I think that would be really good for our viewers. So if you could share that link, we'll also share it in the YouTube premiere description. Okay. So thank you both for all of your efforts and for being willing to talk with us again and give us these updates.
Happy to be here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to our program from the Indigenous Voices project of Climate Reality Project Bay Area Chapter. I am Alma Sungi Beck. I am one of the co-chairs of our climate justice team. We're so very, very pleased that you decided to join us today for this program. And we have two really important speakers who are here from Alaska. The first speaker is Bernadette Dementif, Executive Director of the Gwich'in Steering Committee. And secondly, Angel Stickman. Inupiaq name is Misagak, from the Alaska Mining Issues Network Council. Let's go ahead and introduce Bernadette, who's going to talk somewhat about the Willow Project as well as the Alaska Wildlife Refuge.
We are caribou people. We carry a piece of the caribou in our heart, and the caribou carry a piece of us in their heart. And there was a time when we were able to communicate with the caribou. There was a vow that we would take care of each other. To honor this, we have been taught that we must take care of the caribou, and in return, they will take care of us. The spiritual connection we have with the caribou is very much real. The survival of the Gwich'in depends on the survival of this herd.
Shoji Bernadette Dementif Oji, Gwich'ajak Gwich'in Easley. My name is Bernadette Dementif. I'm the Executive Director of the Gwich'in Steering Committee, organization that was founded in 1988 by the elders and chiefs of the Gwich'in Nation of Alaska and Canada. Our elders and chiefs gathered for the first time in over 150 years. And they gathered because people were coming into our homelands telling us that we were going to be rich, if we developed the lands that we consider very sacred. And at that gathering, they gave us 3 directions, and that was to go out and tell the world we are here, to do the work in a good way, and not to compromise our position. To do that work, to do the work in a good way, that's a really simple sentence, but it's not always easy when you're up against corporate greed, dishonesty from our own elected leadership, and just even sometimes our own people, the lateral violence that we have to tolerate and experience doing this work. Whether we're at the bottom of Alaska or the top of Alaska, the middle, I'm interior. What happens in Alaska is going to affect us all. Now we have people coming into our homelands, making decisions about our future, and they're not involving us. Greed, it's all about money. But I was raised to understand that we are already rich in our culture. We are already rich in our ways of life. And, oil lasts, 40 years? If we leave the animals alone, if we take care of the land that we were blessed with, it can last forever.
Thank you, Bernadette. So, Angel Stickman, we'll turn it to you. And please tell us also a little bit about the Alaska Mining Issues Network.
Okay, awesome. So it's nice to be here, you guys. So my name is Angel Stickman. I am from the native village of Shangnak. It's a small Inupiaq village located in Northwest Alaska. But I currently live in North Pole near Fairbanks in the interior, where Bernadette is also located. My normal job is I'm an advocate for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. I am a council member for the Alaska Mining Impacts Network, and I spend, a lot of my time, if I'm not at work or if I'm not in school, I spend a lot of my time spreading information about the effects of mining and how it affects Indigenous communities. This is a map, and it can show you, a little bit about where my village is located. So this is a picture in my village, and this is in the winter. So this is a picture of the school in my village. So Alaska contains transitional minerals such as copper, cobalt, graphite, and some other rare earth elements. So additionally, although not a transitional mineral, gold mining is also being pushed here in Alaska. So the state of Alaska is aggressively, really trying to finance these proposed hard rock mining projects. And at both the state level and the federal level, we are seeing efforts to ease the permitting processes for international mining corporations. And along with the 5 current running mines here in Alaska, there's over 10 industrial scale hard rock mines currently trying to be explored or permitted here in Alaska. So you can see here on the map. So I want to now talk about the Ambler Road project here in Alaska. In order to reach the Alaska Mining District, which is where my village is located and other tribes, the state of Alaska has proposed to build a 211-mile long road cutting through the Brooks Range, crossing 2,900 streams, 11 major rivers, 1,700 acres of wetlands, plus intersecting 3 caribou herds migratory routes. So the road in itself is destructive, and they want to reach the area so they can build a huge mine. So I want to talk, a little bit about my village. So this is the Kobuk River, and this is what I've been talking about. And why I'm doing this is because of this river right here. So my village, as well as other villages, are located next to this river. And all of these villages, including my village, rely heavily on this river for fish. We rely on this river for water. We rely on it to survive. If we didn't have this river, I don't think anyone, would live in this area. And another important reason why this is important is because we travel to each village using this river. A lot of people don't understand is that, we're not connected. All of the villages in Alaska are not connected with roads. And I feel like that's what makes it unique and why, that we're the environment is so good is because we're not connected, you know what I mean? So we would travel in a small boat and we travel for hours, right, to our fish camp. And what we would do in fish camp is we would fish and we would help my grandma, wash the fish and dry it on a rack like you see here. And so this is in front of my grandpa's house. Unfortunately, our camp was affected by erosion. So my grandpa made a fish rack in front of his house. And the picture right here to the left, these are stairs down to the beach. And so, each family is different. Sometimes they go to their fish camp every summer, or they go down the beach. And then there's a lot of fish racks down here lined up where, people can go fishing and then come back to town and hang their fish here. So this road and mine will forever change our ways of living. It will affect our traditional foods and our lives. And it's just, it's going to be really devastating. I want to say to people who think mining is 100% the answer is that electric cars and the latest iPhones are not worth the destruction of my homelands, of my water, the health of our water, the health of the people, our caribou that we catch every year. So as Alaskans, we are on the front lines of climate change. And as according to the EPA, over the past 60 years, the average temperature across Alaska has increased by approximately 3 degrees. And so this increase is more than twice the warming seen in the rest of the United States. We know we need to transition to clean energy, but we must center rights and equity and avoid replicating one form of harmful extraction for another, right? So this slide is fairly self-explanatory, and I think the most important bullet point is the last one. So if you can take a look at that, mining disproportionately harms Indigenous communities. So this slide has a ton of information, but it shows that there is hope, especially with good advocacy efforts and political will. So we need policies that encourage recycling. We need R&D investments to advance battery technologies that rely on less mineral content, right? We need to invest in and incentivize public transit and bike transit infrastructure. We need stronger standards, not faster processes. Like Bernadette said before, our leadership is not telling or not really fighting for us. We're fighting against them because they are, they want greed. They want to extract minerals from the land, and they're not, representing us right.
We speak for ourselves. And that's why I'm so glad that, like Angel's here, because I'm not permitted to speak for other tribes. I'm only permitted to, because we represent 14 communities throughout Alaska and Canada. But I was always told not to, to share the platform, and, because it's not just about us, but we're Alaska Natives when it comes down to it. We're real people. We're mothers, we're fathers, we're grandparents, and we matter, and our children matter, and our future generations matter. We have record-breaking fires. We have 33 coastal communities dealing with erosion, and the Willow project. They're just diving in there. They're not respecting the Indigenous peoples. They listen to the corporations, and like I said, they benefit from the destruction that we're going to have to live with. I think we've all pretty much had enough of it, and we need allies. We need support. We need people to tell our stories, because we're not being put out there, and we're the ones who's going to have to live with all of this. Our children. We're not giving up. That's not an option for us. This is our home. There's nowhere else for us to go.
Hello. Thank you for watching our program on Indigenous resistance and eco-colonialism in Alaska. And we have the privilege of being again with Bernadette Dementoff from the Gwich'in Steering Committee. Bernadette, it's been a few months since this program first was recorded in July, and we'd love to hear any updates from you about what's happened and what's next.
Sure. Well,
the government, the Biden administration, they canceled the last remaining lease sale that is in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, which is good news. But I mean, it's as much as good news that it is. We still have a lot of work to do. We need permanent protection. Otherwise, this is always going to be a threat. And so we are continuing to make plans on traveling back down to Washington, D.C. and in December during the anniversary of the Arctic Refuge, the week of, to go down and just educate more of the leaders that are down there and thank them for canceling the lease sale. And, you know, it's been an overwhelming time, but the good news, it's bittersweet.
So the other exciting thing that we were talking about was the role of the Gwich'in Youth Council, getting the youth from the Gwich'in to be part of that effort to talk to people in Washington. Can you talk a little more about that?
Sure. So in 2017, when Trump's administration opened our sacred lands to oil and gas development, you know, Gwich'in leaders understood that this was going to be a longer process and that we needed to prepare our next generation to take lead and teach them how to protect this area. So from then, you know, we designed the Arctic advocacy training where we educate our youth about Congress, the three branches, how to public speak, how to speak one-on-one. And they've been doing an amazing job. They've started traveling to DC. They've talked to the UN. They're doing a really good job, and we're just continuing to keep them, you know, educated on the issue and to always follow the direction of our elders.
That's really lovely to hear. So to support the work of the Gwich'in Steering Committee, we encourage you to check out their official website, which is ourarcticrefuge.org. And we're going to have all of that information in the YouTube description and in the chat here in the YouTube premiere. The Gwich'in Steering Committee is in Fairbanks, Alaska. And I'm going to say the address and then we're going to put it in the chat. 3401 Airport Way, Suite 201, Fairbanks, Alaska, 99709. There is another website out there called GwichinSteeringCommittee.org, but that's a very, very outdated website that Bernadette and their team are trying to figure out how to get access to it and have it point to the correct website. So just be clear, our Arctic Refuge is the correct website, and the address I gave you is the correct address to send checks. They're a 501c3 if you're looking to support the work of their youth council and their work in protecting the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. Any last words?
Thank you. I just want to thank you for using your platform to share our, you know, our story and just for your help. We appreciate it. We appreciate everyone that are standing with us. We're just simply trying to protect our way of life, and we just thank you for your time.
And thank you for taking the time to inform us and to talk with us. We have the privilege of being again with Angel Stickman from the Alaska Mining Issues Council. And now that we are in the beginning of October, filming this and premiering this on November 1st, we were going to get an update from Angel to see the progress of the campaign and what you can do to help. So, Angel.
Yes. Hey, hi, everyone. Yeah, first I would like to thank you guys, and welcome you guys to the premiere. So an update since July. So what happened since July? So what is going to happen is there is a really important comment period, and that is going to begin here sometimes in October, and it's going to be for 60 days. So this is a really essential, important comment period. We want people, we want as many people as we can to comment and state why, this project should not be built, why the road should not be built. And there's many reasons why this road should not be built. One of the reasons is the crossing of caribou herd. The rural areas, the rural villages in the area rely on caribou. They still rely on the caribou, and they have been for thousands of years. And another reason is this road is going to cross many major rivers, thousands of streams and wetlands, so it's going to be affecting the environment. And
Angel, you were talking a little bit about the Alaska boreal forest and the importance of preserving it. Could you maybe say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so our area, our boreal forest is one of the largest, I think is the largest intact ecosystems in the world. So there's our boreal forest, our area, the Russian boreal forest and the Brazilian rainforest are the only 3 intact ecosystems in the world. And if anything happens to these ecosystems, then there may be irreparable damage to the whole climate of the earth. And I just found that really amazing. So that's why this is really important. This issue is really, really important. And this project has to be stopped. Other issues that I can think of is it'll be opening up our area to, so hurting the environment. There'll be multiple mining claims, and it'll hurt the water and the environment, and social issues such as hunting competition for our people, right? Like I said, we rely on the caribou. We still have our moose. We still have our caribou. We still have our bear, our forest, our rivers. Everything's still intact since time immemorial, and we want to keep it that way, right? Because it's so important to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important to the whole world, Angel. So I'm really glad that you're here working on this and letting us talk about it.
Yeah.
So the information about how to comment, it's the Bureau of Land Management comment period. This is really crucial. It's opening, the comment period opens early October and ends the end of November. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And it will be for 60 days. So
a 60-day period. So we have only until the end of November. This is our chance to spread the word. Please make comments. We're going to have suggestions in the page that we're launching that is going to show the YouTube premiere, as well as in this YouTube comments for how to get there and how to make comments. So please make the effort, spread the word, make your comments, and continue to follow what's going on. And I think the second thing, Angel, is the funding for the Issues Mining Council. So it's the Alaska Mining Issues Council.
Yes, the Alaska's Mining Impacts Network. Yeah, council. Yeah, I'm on the council. So yes, that's
right. The Alaska Mining Impacts Network. And it's being hosted by the Alaska Conservation Foundation. So you can make a donation a tax-deductible donation through the Alaska Conservation Foundation. That information is also on the webpage and here in the comments of the YouTube premiere. So thank you again for all of your efforts and your hard work, for letting us know about how we can stay connected, protect the Alaska Boreal Forest, protect Indigenous communities, caribou herds, and ecosystems.
Yes. You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me here and inviting me. This is a great opportunity.
All right. Take care, Angel.
Bye.
So now we're at the end of our first YouTube premiere event for the Climate Reality Project Bay Area chapter in conjunction with the San Diego chapter and climatehope.us. Stephanie, any thoughts after watching those videos and hearing from the speakers?
Yeah, I'm really motivated to take action. Where can I find the information to do the next steps?
So we talked about a bunch of the next steps in the videos and in the interviews with the speakers. And all of the items that we talked about, we've put information in the description of this YouTube premiere. So if you open the full description, you'll see all of the information about how to comment during the comment period and who to write to about the Alaska Arctic Wildlife Refuge, and how to continue supporting the land back work in Marin County, for instance, as well as all of the websites of the organizations that the people here are part of. So you'll find it on the YouTube videos. You can also find the full videos and the short videos on our YouTube channel for the Climate Reality Project Bay Area chapter, again, with the same links for the action items. And we are also, we have pages of each of these events, the May event and the July event, and we've added to those the URLs and the links for how to actually take action. So hopefully that's going to be enough. But also for climatehope.us, we have a page as well, since we're one of our co-sponsors. And one of our big things that we do in Climate Hope is actually tell people interesting stories and share interesting stories, and then show them how to actually take action. So great question, Stephanie. That's exactly where we were hoping people would go.
And of course, you can always go and learn more about the Indigenous groups near you. Pretty much all of them have websites, social media. That's the best way to stay up to date about what's happening in your area with Indigenous issues. And of course, can't go without saying climatehope.us has social medias, including an Instagram. So do the Bay Area chapter and the San Diego chapter. So follow us there if you'd like to learn more about Climate Reality Project and the work we're doing. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for new members. You don't have to be a trained climate reality leader, but that's always a great avenue to learn more about the climate crisis.
If you're not already a member of one of our chapters or one of the chapters of the Climate Reality Project near where you live, we encourage you to actually join the chapter, because that's your best way to stay updated on all of the interesting work that the chapters are doing. You can actually be a member of more than one chapter. You could join all of the California chapters if you want to find out what everyone's doing. We're all volunteer run, and what we do is based on who volunteers and who joins. So if you're looking for a place to plug in around climate, this is a great opportunity, because you're just going to meet like-minded volunteers who are interested and motivated to volunteering their time to continue to do this work.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Alma. Any last words about November?
Yes. So November, as we mentioned, is Indigenous Heritage Month. What better chance do we have to actually spend the time to actually learn about and listen to Indigenous voices, particularly in the areas where we live? So for those up in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's actually a whole exhibit at the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco. And it started in October, but there's a live event this Saturday, November 4th, and it's on land back. So the exhibit is called Contemporary Indigenous Voices of California's South Coast Range. And there's a photo exhibit, and they're going to show documentary films. But I went to the opening that was in October, and there were these short 10-minute documentary films from several of the local Indigenous groups. Every single one of them asked the question of how the work they're doing is related to ending the climate crisis. I learned a ton just by being there listening to that and to the panel. So there's going to be another panel with local Indigenous folks from some of the local groups talking about the work they're doing and how it's related to land back. But I'm even more convinced the more I listen to Indigenous people how important land back and supporting Indigenous sovereignty is to ending the global climate crisis. So we encourage folks to spend the month with their minds on this and learning. There's a bunch of stuff that you can find on YouTube as well from local Indigenous groups.
I love the DeYoung. I'm so looking forward to checking out that exhibit. Land back, so important. So important.
The photo exhibit's actually free to the public. The DeYoung Museum is not free, but that particular exhibit is free. It's a beautiful photo exhibit of like about a dozen of the local Indigenous groups in the Bay Area. It's open until January 7th. So we encourage everyone to visit it and support the work they're doing there too. So we've come to a close. Go out there, end racism, support Indigenous sovereignty, support Indigenous resistance, end the climate crisis. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
See you next time. Bye.